Okay, so as promised, follow up to the post that I made last night. Quick video on how Merv found his gold coin. And for those that have already met me and know me, you can see that I don't always look like I've been dragged through a hedge backwards. Merv and I, we got into detecting properly in the early part of lockdown. We got a couple of permissions. Merv got us another one, and it's just the other side of Lount. It's not a massive amount of lands, maybe 20 acres. But we'd been on it several times. We'd had some brilliant success. There's a couple of fields, well, more like paddocks behind the farmhouse that's been there probably for a good part, 500 years plus, something like that. And we'd had an awful lot of stuff. Lots of coins, halfpennies and pennies, tokens, all the way back George the First, all the way through to Victoria, and some other interesting bits and pieces. And so we decided the Saturday morning we were going to go back and do the field that is directly behind the farmhouse. Now, there's a lady there, or there was at the time, who had a couple of horses, and she rented some loose boxes, and she sort of paid rent so she could graze her horses and keep them on this field. It's not a problem, and we'd been on there before. Obviously, when we dig the holes and we dig the plugs, we put everything back, we stamp it down, we make it so that there's not a trip hazard or anything for horses because, fragile animals that they are. But this one particular Saturday, we were there, we'd already been going for maybe 15, 20 minutes, and this lady comes to the gate of the field and shouts at us, like, "Are you digging more holes in my field?" And said something like, "Oh, I hope you're not going to be doing too many." I think Merv kind of misread should we just say her attitude, and he quit back with, "Oh yeah, hundreds." Well, that didn't go down well. That didn't go down well at all, and she sort of stormed off, and I thought, well, fine, whatever. But unfortunately, about 45 minutes later, a couple of guys turned up in a transit van, and they'd got 3 beehives in this transit van in the back, full of bees, and they'd already agreed with the landowner that they could drive across the field where the horses were and through another couple and site these things for the summer. And that's what they did. I mean, those beehives were there for the best part of 6, 8 months, something like that. Anyhow, lady that keeps the horses starts getting angry. She's angry that we're on there. She's angry that these guys have turned up in a van and they're going to be crossing the field, upsetting her horses. It's all too much for her. Clearly, she'd already got out of bed the wrong side and had a bad day, and she wanted to have a go at somebody. Now, the 2 guys in the transit van were burly, shall we say. And so instead of having a go at them, she had a go at us. So she starts going and shouting and ranting. So Merv and I pick up our detectors and a spade, and we wander up to the gate and where the van is, and we try and start having a conversation with her, but she's not having anything of it. Now, normally I'm super polite, and people are polite to me. I'm always polite back. And I tried to explain that we actually did have written permission for the landowner to be there, and that we weren't leaving massive holes. And it's not as if she was losing any grazing because the horses had basically eaten it to the roots. But she was angry. She wanted to have a go. She decided we were going to get it, and she just went off on one. Now, Merv is a born diplomat. He was a copper for nearly 30 years, and he was trying to calm the situation. I could just see that it didn't matter. Whatever we said, this woman was just gonna keep on going. And rather than me turning around and biting her head off, I just thought, well, I don't want to lose this permission. Don't want to fall out with the landowner. I know that there's some sort of friendship between this woman and the landowner's mother, so it's like, just leave it. So I just looked at her and went, fine, whatever, and turned my back. Merv he's trying to defuse the situation, and she saw his diplomacy as a sign of weakness, and she just kept going. She was just relentless. And I turned around after 40 seconds and said, "Mate, forget it. Don't worry about it. Let's go and have a coffee and a cigarette." Well, I went for a coffee and a cigarette. So we went into the barn, sat down, had a coffee, I had a couple of cigarettes, and Merv said, "Oh, you know what, I've had enough." I said, "No, we've only been here an hour. Just don't worry about it. She's just an idiot. Some people are like that. Let's go and do one of the other fields." And he was like, "Well, I'm not really. I'm not feeling it." I said, "No, come on. Let's just ignore her. Don't let her get to you. So we walked up the road, climbed and went through the gates. Only 300 yards, something like that. And the field's it's quite interesting. It's probably about 6 acres, and it's on a bit of a slope. And we set up, we got going. I was going laterally, side to side, across the top of the field, and Merv just followed the hedge on the left-hand side all the way down the hill. And I could see from his body language, he was just feeling utterly crushed and really deeply upset about the anger that had just been poured all over him. And I watched him going down. I could just see his heart wasn't in it. And I think really he was just staying because I said, well, let's stay. And he got to the bottom and he turned around and he starts trudging up. And I could see that it just wasn't getting any better. He really just didn't look happy at all. And he gets about a third away up the field and he gets a signal. And I'm, by that time, probably 20, 25 yards away. And he gets a signal and he starts digging. And he pulls out a really, really nice Georgian shoe buckle and or belt buckle. Never really asked him what it was, but it was a buckle and it was nice, clearly Georgian, quite decorative, and it was, it's a good find, but still he wasn't really happy. So he'd got that, and as you should always do, once you found your find, you detect the hole, you detect the plug, you look around and make sure that there isn't a secondary target. And in this case, there was. And it was a low target, but it was a solid target. I think it was about 14 on his machine. And, it's like, well, we'd been digging bits of lead out of this field and the other field for weeks, and they're all coming up around 14, 16. But I said to him a while ago, it's like, always dig lead. 9,999 times out of 1,000, whatever, 10,000, it's lead. You're just going to be a bit of lead. But sometimes it's not. So he decided he was going to chase his signal down. And what he got was this massive plug that would probably weighed about 5-6 kilos. And he couldn't find this target. So he starts quantity surveying and he gets the plug and he cuts it in half. So he can figure out which half this target's in. So he gets that, puts half aside, gets the other bit, it's in there, traces it, cuts it in half again, does that, still can't find it, cuts it in half, and it's getting smaller and smaller. And I'm watching him do this, so I just prop my detector on the spade and I wander down. And by the time I get to him, he's got a lump of mud, no bigger than that, bigger than a cricket ball, but not much bigger. And he's, I can't find this bloody thing. And it's bloody, and he was really venting at this thing because of the crap that we just had to take from this stupid woman. Anyhow, I can't find it. And I walked up to him and I could literally see the clump of mud at his feet. And in the clump of mud, I could just see 3-4 millimeters of the milled rim of a coin, and it was yellow. And I bent and I said to him, I can see it. Hang on. He said, no. I said, I can see it. And I bent down to pick it up, and I went, it's a gold coin. And he literally went, no, it fucking isn't. Fuck off. And I went, bent down, picked it up with my left hand, put it into my right hand, and put it under his nose. And I went, there you go, mate. It's a gold coin. And I tell you what, for some unbeknown reason, his whole demeanor changed completely. It was like a different person. He was super happy and super excited. And I've got no reason, I don't know why. Possibly. What possibly could have changed his attitude that quickly? But yeah, that was how he found that gold coin. If we'd have let that stupid woman get to us, and, if we'd taken on board her anger and we'd gone off home, and yeah, we would have felt that all afternoon. But just because we persevered, he ended up with what I think is one of his best finds. And it just goes to show, you never know where it's going to be. It's every day, every opportunity to get out there. It could be the day that you find something like that. And this is the coin that Isabel did the illustration for. That I gave him for his Christmas present last year. And if you look at the pictures on Merv's threads, you can see the gold coin on somebody's hand. Well, it's that one. That's my hand. I was the first person to hold it as it came out of the ground. But yeah, he's still super stoked and super excited. And it went from being a rubbish day to an absolutely brilliant day. Hopefully, I'm going to see some of you guys out in the field soon. And hopefully, one of you guys will find some gold or even some silver. Take care.